Oh hi. Budapest, the capital of Hungary, formed in 1873 as a result of merge of three cities on coast of Danube. Pest, Buda and Óbuda. The largest city of the country and the ninth largest in the European Union. About 1.75 million inhabitants for 2019. The center of agglomeration with the population about 2.97 million people. 2017. The pioneer settlement in the territory of Budapest under the name of Akink was founded by Celts in the 1st century BB. At Romans, Akvink became the center of the province the Lower Pannonia. In the Middle Ages, the King of Hungary Balafor made the city of Buda the capital. In 1867, Pest became the capital of Transleitania, one of the parts making the Austro-Hungarian monarchy. The historic center of Budapest is entered in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List. Modern city of Budapest. Budapest was formed in 1872 by Administrative Association of the Cities of Buda, and Pest, located on opposite coast of Danube. The name of the new city was formed by addition of names of the United Cities. Budapest, and at first was often used in shape Pest Buda. Both initial oikonym of Slavic origin, precede arrival of Hungarians to Danube in the 9th century. Etymology: quarry stone, house, building, settlement. But also, water option is possible. And furnace, that is, the center, the dwelling. In the 1st century BB, on the place of Budapest there was the Celtic settlement of Akink, which was the shopping and craft center. After arrival of ancient Romans in the 89th year AD, the territory was included in the Roman province of Pannonia. In 106, Akink renamed into Akvincum and made the administrative center. In the city the Roman garrison was placed and there were about 20,000 inhabitants. So far the archaeological park remained. Ruins of public buildings, private houses and aqueduct. Till the 4th century Akvincum was the capital of the province the Lower Pannonia. In the city there was the Roman II Auxiliary Legion. By 450 Romans were forced out by Ostgotha and Huns, and Pannonia became the center of the Gunnisci Empire. Modern Pest was called Contra Aquincum, Mines Akvincum, and was the small settlement. After Huns the city appeared in the power of Avars, and then Slavic Great Moravia. Approximately in 895 the Hungarian tribes led by Arpad came to Danube. Akvincum was renamed in I will be, is later to Óbuda, Old I will be, and became the first political center of Hungary. Century the Hungarian state was proclaimed later. In Pesta immigrants from the German kingdom and the Kingdom of France began to appear. As a result of the Mongolian invasion of the Khanbatya in 1241, Buda and Pest were ruined. After that, in 1247, the King Balafor on the Surf Mountain built the strengthened royal castle, I will be. In 1361, Buda was proclaimed the capital of the Hungarian kingdom. In 1473 in Buda, Andras Hess printed the first Hungarian book, which became the Hungarian Chronicle. In 1541 Buda and Pest were occupied by the Ottoman Empire. Decline of the city and reduction of his population began. In Buda there was a residence of the Turkish Pasha. The city was the capital of the Vilayet. Only in 1686 Buda Castle it was succeeded to storm after nearly 40 days of a siege. Accidental hit of the Hungarian colonel in a powder warehouse, after which detonation several hundreds of perfect Ottoman soldiers died at once, became the reason of defeat of Turks. The gunner by the name of Gabor was nicknamed Tuzas Gabor. The city was freed from under the power of the Ottoman Empire by the Austrian troops under the leadership of Karl Lotharingsky and attached to the possession Babsbergov. In the 18th century, rapid development of Pest as shopping center began. By 1800 Pest's population exceeded Buda and Obuda's population combined. In the next century Pest's population grew by 20 times and made 600,000 people, while Buda and Obuda's population grew only by 5 times. Association of 3 cities was for the first time undertaken during the revolution in 1848-1849. However, restoration Gabsbergov after defeat of revolution entailed division again. Final association of 3 cities to one under the name Budapest happened on November 17, 1873, after formation of the separate Hungarian royal government. An Austro-Hungarian compromise. The city began to develop violently. In 1896 in Budapest there took place the large-scale celebration of the 100th anniversary of founding by Hungarians of the homeland. In 1900 the population of the integrated city made 730,000 people. In the middle of the 19th century the Hungarian railroads began to develop. From Buda and Pest lines dispersed in all directions, to Northern Europe, Vienna, to the Balkans and the Carpathians. In 1873 city streets began to light with electric lamps. In 1887 in the city there were trams. In 1885, the landline phone. And in 1896, the first subway on the European continent. In 1918 the country was proclaimed the Republic, in 1919 the Soviet Republic. Then the Admiral Miklos Horthy declared the region came to the power in Hungary. At the beginning of the 20th century the main increase in population happened in suburbs, such as Újpest and Kispest. By 1930 the population of the city made about 1 million people, and the population of suburbs, about 400,000. After Horthy's discharge from the power in March 1944, Budapest was occupied by the German troops. The most part of the Jewish population of Budapest, 250,000 people before occupation, was destroyed during World War II. History of the Swedish diplomat Raoul Wallenberg, who saved a great number of Jews in Budapest, is known. Later the city was besieged by the Red Army. The siege proceeded 108 days. The central regions of the city during fights were ruined. On February 13, 1945 Budapest was stormed by the Soviet troops. During storm by the German troops all bridges through Danube were blown up. It should be noted that Margate Bridge was undermined in a type of a mistake of the German sappers even before the way of parts of the Red Army to Budapest. At the same time several dozens of people who were on the bridge of pedestrians and passengers of motor transport and tram died. After the end of fights a quarter of all structures of Budapest were in ruins. About 380,000 people died in this fight. On January 1, 1950 the square of the city was significantly expanded. Big Budapest was formed. Restoration of the city continued in 1950-1960. During the revolt in October 1956, the Soviet troops were sent in Budapest. In September-October 2006 in Budapest, Massachusetts, anti-government protests took place.
If the charges were provoked by the publication of the speech of the Prime Minister of the newly elected government of Hungary from the Hungarian Socialist Party Ferenc Gyurcsány, in which at a private meeting of fraction he recognized a juggling of data on an economic situation before elections in the spring of 2006, having accompanied it with offensive language. Budapest serves as the center to both pornographic motion picture industry and the sex industry of Europe in general.
Population 1873 296,867, 1883 170,767, 1895 106,384, 1900 733,358, 1910 880,371, 2011 1,733,685, 2012 1,740,041, 2013 1,735,711, 2021 1,723,836. Budapest is located in the Low Carpathian Basin, limited to the Carpathians, the Alps and South Slavic ridges. Danube divides the city into two parts. Hilly and green I will be. The right coast, western, and flat pest. The highest point of Budapest, Mount Inosha, 527 m higher, relating to Budajski Mountains. From the geotectonic point of view, Budapest is in the place of a break, the existence of the numerous thermal sources which brought to the city glory of the resort's peaks.
Within Budapest on Danube, 7 islands are located.
It is Port. It is the island shipyard. Teodori Sziget,
Margate and Chapel.
A part of the region of 21.
Palote.
Actually, the peninsula. Nepsziget, Haros-sziget and Molna-sziget are a part of regions of 3 and 13. The island of Margarity is called in honor of the daughter of the King Bela IV, Margarita. In Hungarian, Margate. The island has length of 2.5 km and the area of 0.965 km. The main part of the island is occupied by the park and improving institutions. The island is located between bridges Margate in the south and Arpada in the north. On the island there is a water park, the fitness center, bicycle paths, the mini zoo, dancing, the fountain and other places of entertainments. In the 13th century, the monastery of a Dominican order where was active Margate was founded on the island. Margate, it is canonized under a name of street. Margarita.
To the monastery got a teenage age thanks to an obiate what?
Bela IV on the occasion of invasion Tatar, the monaheads on the Hungarian earth. The climate of Budapest is moderately continental. Winter very soft and short, summer rather long and hot, but usually without extreme temperatures. Frosts are usually short and aren't really strong. The region of I is a small part of the central Buda East, including Buda Castle. The region of 2, also Buda's part Northwest, The region of 3 stretches along a northern part of Buda. The region of 4 is in Peste, in a northern part. The region of 5 is in the center Peste. Historic districts Belvaros and Lipoporos. Regions of 6, 7, 8 and 9 areas to the east and the south from the Peste center. The region of 10 is located still to the east, also in Peste. Regions of 11 and 12 are located in Buda, to the south and the west from the I area. Fortress. Regions of 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 and 20. Generally external parts of the city form a semicircle around the central Pest. The 16 area is included by Matyasfjord. The region of 21 stretches in the direction of Danube. The northernmost tip of the island of Chepel, in south side. The region of 22 is in Buda southwest. The region of 23 is the southern outskirts of Pest. The Budapest International Airport Ferrict has 3 passenger terminals. 1, 2A and 2B. The airport is located to the east from the 18 area. The airport was opened on May 7, 1950. In the beginning, length of a runway was 2500 m, and in 1961 was increased up to 3010 m. In 1985 the new terminal was open and the second runway, M long, is constructed. Since 2011 the airport bears a name of Franz Liszt. To Budapest conduct the main highways of Hungary. From 4 highways and 4 highways, except the 8th. 7 begin in Budapest. Road signs coincide with road signs in all other EU countries. Long-distance buses arrive to Nepligat bus station, to Arpad Bridge and to Etel Square in Buda. Between 1990 and 1994 renaming of city streets was made, the names existing since the end of the 19th century were returned. In the period of communist regime many streets had the ideologized names. Generally public transport of Budapest belongs to the Bekivi company. The network of social movement consists of 180 bus routes, 14 trolleybus, 29 tram and 4 lines of the subway. 3 lines of the subway. 1, 2 and are crossed at the Deek Ferencrab station. The Budapest subway is the oldest on the European continent. First line was laid under Andrássy Avenue from Vörösörti Square to Heroes Square. This line functions and now. The yellow line Vörösörti Square, the handout Mexico City. The rolling stock on the first line was updated all once, in 1971-1973. On other lines trains of the Soviet production. The Mytishchi plant and the Alstom company are used. Tram lines in Budapest are the most loaded in the world. The interval of rush hour makes 60-90 sec. In Budapest the longest trams in the world, the jointed low-floor Combino super trams are used. Length of one such tram minus 53.9 meters. In total 40 such trams were ordered. Special transport includes the funicular, the gear railroad and the children's railroad. The Budapesti Shiklo funicular rises from the foot of the hill, from Adam Clark Square at Sanoy Bridge to Fortress. Length of a way -100 m. The difference in height between the lower and top station makes 48 m. The funicular was constructed at the initiative of the Count of Eden Czechenia and put in operation on May 2, 1870. In the beginning, cars were set in motion by the steam engine. Rail transportation is carried out, generally by the Hungarian state railroads. MOV. In Budapest, 3 railway stations are located. East Kalati Station, Western Nyugati Station and Southern Delhi Station. The building of the Nyugati Station is built on Gustav Eiffel's project. Budapest acted as one of the main stations of East Express. Besides, there are trains of the suburban message of Have. In Budapest also Children's Railroad constructed in 1948 is located. Through Budapest Danube, one of the main waterways of Europe proceeds. Navigation is down the river carried out. On the island of Chepel the trade port is located. In Budapest the walking water transport is developed. River Moscow trams of the Soviet production are quite widespread. Sites. Andrássy Avenue is the most representative street of Budapest. He connects Erzsébet Terrace Square to Heroes Square and to the city Városliget Park. On the avenue the Renaissance is a lot of buildings in style, one of the most striking examples of which is the Opera Theatre, which was constructed on the project of the architect Miklos Abel and is open in 1884. Construction of the avenue was begun in 1872 and completed, generally by 1884. In 1885 the avenue was called by the name of the Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs of Austria-Hungary Gyula Andrássy. The avenue is entered in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List. Hungarian State Opera Theatre, Drexler Palace, Parisian Department Store, Franz Liszt Square Who, Mora Yokai Square, Octagon Square, Museum of Terror, Memorial and Research Center of Franz Liszt, so-called Old Musical Academy, Budapest Puppet Theatre, Hungarian University of the Fine Arts, Zoltán Kodály's House Museum, Museum of East Asian Art of Ferenc Hoppe, Hero Square. In this area the Royal Palace, National Gallery, National Library, the Museum of History of Budapest, Cathedral Matyása, the Fishing Bastion, the Labyrinth, a Plate Column, the House of the Hungarian Wines and the funicular conducting to Buda Castle are located. The facade of the Royal Palace was stretched along Danube, its length is 300 m. In the southern part of the palace there is Maria II Theresa's wing constructed in Baroque style. The palace was damaged during World War II, after restoration and the National Gallery was open. The Cathedral Matyása, Budapest Church of the Virgin, also suffered during World War II. His Gothic tower and a roof-tiled Szolnai and the fishing bastion are the most photographed city facilities. The name Fishing Bastion arose so. On east slope of the Surf Mountain and along Danube lived, generally fishermen, from here and the name of the area. Water city of Víziváros. They sold the catch in the fish market which was located near Cathedral Matyása, therefore also the bastion, defensive works of fortress had to protect the shop of fishermen. The bastion was reconstructed in Neo-Roman style at the end of the 19th century during preparation for festivals of the Millennium of Hungary for arrest of citizens. In the park Széchenyi swimming baths, the Védőkúnyad, a zoo, circus, amusement park are located, and in the winter the skating rink is open. The complex of buildings under the name Védőkúnyad was built in 1896, to the 10th anniversary of finding of the homeland by Hungarians. At first it was built from a tree, but so it was pleasant to citizens that later, in 1904-1908 it was reconstructed in a stone.
The complex consists of 21 copies of buildings from the different ends of Hungary representing different architectural styles, including the Hunyadi family lock from Transylvania, from which the complex also received the name.
Swimming baths of Széchenyi. Széchenyi Gyófürdő are the largest in Europe. Water arrives from two hot mineral springs with a temperature of 74 C and 77 C. Swimming baths were built in 1913 in style of Neo-Baroque. In the city park of Budapest, the circus, a zoo, several museums and the well-known restaurant Gundel are located. On the embankment there are interesting buildings, such as Concert Hall, Vigado, Gresham Palace. Nowadays Four Seasons Hotel. The girl's statue in a carnival costume. Vigado's building is the second largest concert hall of Budapest. It is constructed on the project of the architect Frigyes Fessel in 1859.
The Vigado Hall is built on the place of other concert hall of the Redoubt, destroyed by the fire in 1848.
The building was seriously damaged during World War II. Restoration took 36 years. In 2006 the facade was restored. The Pestski panorama of Danube is entered in the UNESCO World Cultural Heritage List. Széchenyi Bridge was opened in 1849. Length of the central flight is 202 m. That did the bridge by the world's second bridge on length after the suspension bridge in the city of Freiburg, Switzerland. The mountain Gellert Core is called in honor of the street. Gerard Wengerski christening Hungarians. Sites: Gellert Hotel and Swimming Baths of Gellert. Monument to Gellert. Chapel in a cave. Citadel. Svoboda's monument. Initially the monument was devoted to liberation of Budapest by the Soviet army, but at the beginning of the 90th years of the 20th century the figure of the soldier liberator was removed from composition. The Central Market is in the Nine area and is the largest market of the city.
In the market it is possible to find a wide choice of vegetables, fruit, cheese and meat.
The roof was restored and laid out by a tile of Jolna. Svoboda Bridge conducts from Pest to Mount Gellert Foot in Buda, from St. Gellert Square to the building of the Central Market. The bridge was built in 1896 on Yao. Fiketikazis who project.
The bridge was opened in the presence of the Emperor of Austria-Hungary Franz Joseph and is called by his name.
Bridge length minus 333.6 m. Hero Square is one of main squares of the city. She is in the end of Andrásy Avenue, near the city park. The area is framed by two buildings. Museum of Fine Arts at the left and Showroom Mucharnak on the right. On the square there is an embassy of Serbia. Before Embassy of Yugoslavia, where in 1956 the head of a revolt Imre Nagy took cover. The central part of the square is occupied by the memorial of the 1000th anniversary of founding of the homeland, with statues of heads of Hungary since 9th century, etc. Considerable figures of the Hungarian history. The monument was put in 1896 and is complete in 1929. Length of colonnades -85 m. Height of the central column topped with the image of Angel Gabriel is 36 m. In the center the sculpture of the leader of the Hungarian tribes, Arpada. Work of the sculptor Dahordi Azala is located. On June 16, 1989, card people for reburial of remains of Imre Nagy. Executed in June 1958. Gathered on the square. The big synagogue on Doan Street is the largest in Europe and the second in the world. It contains up to 300 praying. Building length -75 m, width -27 m. The synagogue was constructed in 1854-1859 in Neo-Mauritian style on the project of the architect Ludwig Forster. The interior was executed on the Friedrich Fesslier project.
The square in front of a synagogue bears a name of Theodor Herzl, who was born in the house in which place the Jewish Museum of Budapest is now. The memorial park of Raoul Wallenberg in the yard of a synagogue is devoted to memory of 600,000 Hungarian Jews who died during the Holocaust. In the center of a memorial the metal tree, Weeping Willow, on which leaves names of the dead are beaten out, is established. And 7 years after Budapest and Óbuda's association, in 1880 the state meeting made the decision to build the parliament building to emphasize the sovereign right of the Hungarian nation. The competition, which was won by the architect Imre Steindl, was announced, but also some ideas of 2 other participants of a competition in the building of the Ethnographic Museum and in the building of the Ministry of Agriculture were realized. In 1885 construction began. The first meeting of the state meeting took place in the building in 1896, during the celebration of the 1000th anniversary of founding of the homeland.
The construction of Parliament was completed only in 1906. By the time of completion of construction, the architect of the project went blind. Thousands of people worked at construction, 40 million bricks and 40k of gold were used. Like the building of the British Parliament, style of the building, Neo-Gothic.
The building occupies the space of 18,000 m.
Building length -268 m, width -123 m. His interior includes 10 courtyards, 13 elevators, 27 gate, 29 ladders and 691 rooms. Height of the building is 96 m. It is one of the highest historical buildings in the city. The main facade is turned to Danube. On a facade, sculptures of the Hungarian kings and leaders are placed. Only 88. The main entrance, Lions Gate, comes to Lajos Kossuth Square. St. Istvan's Basilica is called in honor of the first king of Hungary, Istvan. Construction of cathedral began in 1851 under the leadership of the architect József Hilda. After his death, Miklos Ibel directed construction of cathedral. The construction was completed in 1905. The total area of cathedral is 4730 m. Diameter of a dome -22 m, and height -96 m. Along with the building of Parliament, a basilica is the highest historical building of the city. In a basilica, the chapel with relics, right hand of street, Istvan, and stained glass windows with the Hungarian saints is located. Near Danube embankment and the building of Parliament there is Liberty Square. On the square, buildings of the Hungarian Radio Television Company, the United States Embassy and National Bank are located. In the center of the area there is a monument to the soldiers of the Soviet Army who fell during liberation of Budapest from fascism. Váci Street is the heart of the city. The street begins at Vörösöti Square and comes to an end at Firevam Square, about the central market. On the street the set of shops and restaurants is located. On many facades of buildings there are pig iron jewelry and a mosaic. Museums: Hungarian National Museum, Hungarian National Gallery, Museum of Fine Arts, Museum of History of Budapest, Museum of Applied Art, Ethnographic Museum, Ludwig's Museum, the best of the East European branches of the Cologne Museum of Ludwig, Museum Kiszeli, Museum of History of Medicine Zemmelweise. Budapest is the only capital of the European state, the resort thanks to numerous hot mineral springs. The remains of the Roman swimming baths of the 2nd century were found within the city. However, the culture of swimming baths began to develop really only during the Turkish invasion in the 16th, 17th centuries. 1541–1686. In Budapest 26 swimming baths work. The largest Széchenyi, Gellert, Kéré, and Radish. Also far. Write comments. Read comments. Interesting people will tell interesting stories. All of good mood and good luck.